What's up, you sweaty nerds and greasy degenerates? So the patch 2.0 special programming occurred recently, and so that means we learned a lot about the new characters coming to us in patch 2.0. This video will be about Black Swan and what we learned about her kit from that special programming after I analyzed everything that the developers told us. So let's get into it. Black Swan is a character that was first introduced in 1.0 during a special promotional video for Honkai Star Rail, and has only been recently reintroduced to us. Players back then thought that she might end up becoming playable, and those players were right. She is a diviner as well as a memo keeper for the Garden of Recollection, making her a follower of the Aeon Fully, the Aeon of Remembrance. According to the developers, these memo keepers have given up their worldly bodies and traveled the universe as memetic entities, collecting valuable memories for the Aeon Fully by listening to the recollections of others and organizing them accordingly, and in Black Swan's case, turning these recollections into cards she has access to at her fingertips. Interestingly, the developers also mentioned that you will always see her with a smile on her face, but that this smile is the habit of diviners, and that her smile is not always genuine, which I found very intriguing. Before diving into her kit and abilities, I wanted to point out one more fun little Easter egg about her that I haven't seen anybody talking about yet. Apparently, she is the first officially confirmed character from the Garden of Recollection. According to the devs, many people suspect March 7th may be as well, but that is just our suspicion based on March 7th's story so far, and not publicly confirmed. However, I would like to point out that Black Swan has the same symbol on her abdomen that is also featured in March 7th's arm, back, and thighs, which just so happens to be the symbol for the Oniric shards we use as currency at the in-game shop, which in my opinion is the biggest clue we have so far to use as proof that March 7th is connected with the Garden of Recollection. We can also see this same symbol in Black Swan's crystal ball in her splash art. Now let's get into her kit. In this special programming, the developers were a little bit more cryptic than normal with how they explain the characters. So it's obvious we will be learning more about them in the future, but stay tuned because in Black Swan's case, we'll be getting that information very, very soon. But we were still able to learn a lot from the special programming despite this, so correct me if you feel like I'm wrong on something, or if I maybe missed something, or if you have your own interpretation on what was shown. Black Swan is a wind-type damage dealer, and based on what we see so far, she is likely designed to fit a sub-DPS role. She is the second 5-star DOT character in the game, and expected to be very, very powerful, and may even be able to act as the main source of damage on a DOT team, even if you don't have Kafka. However, it is highly recommended to have Kafka paired with Black Swan. You may have a feeling of FOMO if you don't. Both her skill and her basic attack have a chance to inflict the Arcana Destiny card on the enemies affected. So this is very similar to how Sampo can inflict Wind Shear with both his basic attack and skill. This means that you will want to build high effect hit rate on Black Swan, and effect hit rate may even be one of Black Swan's most important stats. If we assume we can compare parts of her kit to Sampo, that is. According to the devs, Arcana is considered a unique DOT effect, which means that it is likely different than Wind Shear and should count towards one of the 3 DOTs by the prisoner set that we would want in order to maximize that set's potential, which means that Sampo could actually be paired with Black Swan under the right circumstances, and both Arcana and Wind Shear should be considered different DOTs, allowing the DOT prisoner set to work on both characters if you so desire. As part of Black Swan's talent, Loom of Fate's Caprice, Arcana can also be stacked just like any other DOT, but Arcana is unique, and as the stacks build up, the enemy's Destiny card will be upgraded, and the damage dealt to enemies will increase over time, allowing you to deal considerable amounts of damage. So using her technique before battle will be important to get a good head start on this effect. It looks like her technique is called From Facade to Verite, and seems to inflict status effects on enemies at random. I assume this to be random effects of Arcana, getting your DOT status effects dropped early to give you a head start in battle. But be aware, this is the last technique you want to use in sequence because Black Swan's technique instantly starts battle. Her basic attack is called Percipion's Silent Dawn and deals wind damage to a single enemy target with a chance to inflict Arcana on the enemy. Black Swan's skill is called Decadence False Twilight and is a blast damage ability which hits 3 enemies at once, dealing most damage to the target enemy and a reduced amount to the enemies to the left and right of the target enemy, with a chance to inflict Arcana on all 3 enemies affected. Her ultimate, Bliss of Otherworld's Embrace, was not mentioned by the devs in any way, shape, or form, but it was shown on screen and clearly has an AoE effect. We can assume this has its own special effects and likely synergizes with her talent and main traces in some way. It may even trigger her Arcana effects, but that is all uncertain at this time, and I am just speculating. So stay tuned, because we will be learning more about Black Swan very, very soon when we are given the character preview, which is when we learn more detail about her abilities as well as her main traces. We will also learn the full details of her light cone at the same time, so stay tuned for more. So what do I think about this character? Well, I think that Black Swan is a slightly more difficult DOT character to understand than normal, but not by that much, which, to be honest, makes her not that difficult to understand at all, as long as you have the reading comprehension of someone at 5th grade level. Black Swan may be able to act as the main damage dealer on a DOT team, even if you don't have Kafka. However, it's obvious that without Kafka, you will probably have a feeling of missing out, because Black Swan and Kafka together are truly how you optimize the current DOT meta that will come to us in patch 2.0. It is also really important for players to understand that Black Swan is very, very hot, and you're probably going to want her on your account so that you can stare at her fat, juicy butt. As mentioned before several times, Black Swan's kit was clearly meant to fit a sub-DPS role, but you can have her run as the main damage dealer on a DOT team under the right circumstances. It is important to note that if you don't have DOT characters built on your account, or you don't have Kafka, that you may want to consider skipping Black Swan, unless of course you want to pull her to be able to stare at her bazongas. But be aware that in patch 2.0, we will be getting a free 4-star selector, and 2 of those characters on the 4-star selector are DOT characters, so this does help players build DOT characters on their account if they didn't already have them built. I believe that Black Swan will be a very, very powerful character in this game and make DOT teams relevant once again. In fact, don't be surprised if Pure Fiction ends up changing into a DOT domain coming up soon. Just take a look at when the transition occurs. It changes during her banner. Nudge nudge, wink wink. So stay tuned for more, because we will be learning more about Black Swan in only a few days or so, and I will make an updated video once that day comes, as well as a video going over her signature light cone and whether it's worth pulling for that or not. So let me know if you are pulling for this character, whether you think this character is super hot fire, super duper fine or not, because let's be honest, this character is really hot. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.